Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more turkey patterning, and today we've got another new shell that we have not tested. However, we have recently started testing other shells from this particular company and they have been some devastating performers. I expect this to be much more the same. We know this particular gun and choke combo is a nasty performer as well, and putting the two of these together should give us something pretty ridiculous down there if everything works out the way that I think it probably will. Before the shells we're running today, I brought out some more of the Epic TSS turkey loads. These ones are their 28 gauge, 2 3/4 inch, 1 1/4 ounce payload of TSS 9s. And there's no velocity written on the box here, but I will pop it up over here on the screen real quick. If I just hop on their website and find it, I believe it's on there. But these are also part of their Extreme Pattern line as well. They offer a couple different types of loadings for a lot of their shells. These Extreme Pattern loadings are typically a little lighter payload at a little lower velocity, and from our previous testing with other extreme loads from them, it really does make a difference. They are some devastating performers. We already know my 28 gauge setup can give us some lights out patterns, and I expect much more of the same here today with these. But real quick, here's what one of those shells look like, and they have this really unique feature that I think I should at least mention, because I did talk to the guys over at Epic about this feature. And real quick oversimplification, this is a little cork, essentially overshot card that sits underneath the crimp here. From their testing, a lot of times the crimps on these do make a difference. This is a 20 gauge shell, but you can see how when you shoot it, it's kind of jagged and just not super even around the crimp. These little cork pieces are designed to eliminate that. And apparently in their testing, that can help eliminate flyers and strings and stuff like that from the edge of the pattern. And it does indeed work, because here is another Epic 20 gauge shell that we tested previously. You can see how much smoother and how much more even it is. So this cork does absolutely make a difference and should eliminate some flyers and strings from around the edges. So pretty neat feature. I know I'm going to get questions about it, so figured I would at least mention it real quick. Before our setup today, I brought out my Tristar Viper 28 gauge. It's got a 28 inch barrel on it, and we're going to be running the Indian Creek 520 for a choke. They do a lot of their testing and development with Indian Creek chokes, so if there's something that's going to perform well with these shells for a starting point, it's probably going to be one of these Indian Creeks. We know this setup can give us some fantastic results. 28 gauge is known for good patterns anyway, so I have some high expectations for it for sure. Before our test today, everything is set up the same as usual. The turkey target is at 40 yards, and we got the chrono to get our velocity. So let's get you guys to view that target and see if we can actually get another extreme pattern from these 28 gauge extreme epic loads. I have a feeling we will, so let's take our shot and see what we get. Okay, that shell gave us 11:34 through the chrono. I'll pop the claim up from their website here on the screen so you can see how close it was. But usually Epic is pretty close with their numbers. Either way, low 1100s is perfectly fine for a TSS load from a 28 gauge. But did we get an extreme pattern down there or not? Let's go check it out and see. Alright, so here we are down at our 40-yard paper, and we see a pretty nice looking pattern here overall. Our core might have favored just a touch to the left, but we still absolutely have a dead turkey. There's one through the brain and a number more of them down through the spine there, if you can kind of see those small little pink dots, since the target didn't flake off perfectly. But that is absolutely still a dead bird, and if we had our core just a little bit farther to the right and maybe an inch or two up, that bird would absolutely be hammered even more than he already is. But looking at the entire pattern as a whole here, it's tight for sure. That turkey paper is 12 inches wide, and we don't have a ton of pellets left or right of that turkey target to work with. Most of our pattern is right on the bottom and the bottom left area of that turkey target, and it is only a 1 1/4 ounce payload of 9s. You don't have a ton of pellets to work with. There's an awful lot of TSS loads out there for 28 gauge that are a larger payload, some of them even all the way up into the 1 5/8 ounce payload and stuff like that, like a 20 gauge shell would be. These are a little lighter on the payload, which does help them, give them a little more breathing room and stuff like that. And this is a tight pattern, no doubt about it. If we move in and look at our core, that's kind of right in front of that bird's neck area there, it's beautifully even. There's no major voids or anything like that in there at all. Just a very even, nice hunting core right there. Outside of that, we might pick up one little void over just along the left edge of the turkey target there in the center of the screen, and we might have a little bit of extension down there off the bottom, but nothing I would call flyers. Up here off the top and the right, we might have a couple pellets that are a little bit outside of our pattern, maybe a few more right above the turkey target. And these couple right over here, we might call flyers, but they're not egregious. They're not all over the place. They're not to the very edges of the paper or anything like that. So really, no major flyers whatsoever. So it does appear like that little cork piece that we talked about earlier does indeed at least help and make a little bit of a noticeable difference. And this pattern might even be a little bit deceiving on camera. You don't have a ton of shot to work with, but it is a tight pattern, and it doesn't give you a ton of leeway to work with. And at close ranges, that's going to be an absolute baseball or softball pattern. But what I'm really looking at as well, this is a 520 constriction choke. I'm willing to bet if we go to something like the Pattern Master 515, this pattern is going to get pretty ridiculously tight on us. We don't need it any tighter than this. This is already a very condensed spread. But if we go to a touch more constriction and we bring in those very edges just that little bit more, there's a real possibility that we have pretty much every pellet in our pattern on that 12-inch wide turkey paper at 40. If something like that does indeed happen in our future testing, it's gonna be pretty impressive. This is already a fantastic pattern. I wouldn't hesitate to hunt with it at all. It doesn't need to be any tighter than that. We don't have any major voids or big flyers or nothing in it, but I mean, if we want to get nitpicky and get a little crazy with it and see maybe how ridiculous of a pattern we can truly get from it, going to a 515 might make it absolutely just stupid tight. So that could be really fun to see, even if it already might be a little bit too tight for some people's preference. But yeah, clearly the Epic shells are still very nice performers, no doubt about it. This is about what I expected, and I think there's even a chance we can get even tighter than that out of them still. So pretty impressive for the first 28 gauge Epic shell that we've tested as well. And here's the wad from that shell. Nothing fancy, special to see, no major damage. Only thing down in there is the little fiber cushion piece at the bottom. No pellets or nothing. Everything looks perfectly fine. The Indian Creek chokes are known to kind of scrape the edges up like that, so nothing out of the ordinary there. And clearly, it did its job just fine. And for those curious, here is that red 28 gauge shell that we just fired in comparison to what a typical star crimp looks like. That cork piece absolutely does make a difference on how clean that crimp comes apart there. So it could legitimately make a noticeable difference for sure. Absolutely way different than what they usually look like. Alright y'all, well, what did you think about that performance right there? It's a pretty nasty looking little pattern, and it is a little deceiving, like I said a minute ago. It might not look like you've got a ton of pellets on the paper, but the ones you do have aren't that much outside of a basketball spread at 40 yards. It's a tight little spread of pellets. And you're really going to notice that at closer ranges as well. The core is beautifully even, like we've typically seen from these Epic shells as well. No major flyers or nothing. If we really want to get as picky as we can be, maybe the top little edge there we might be able to bring in a touch. But like I just said, that's a 520 constriction choke, and we're already seeing that kind of performance. If we go to a 515, it could get pretty ridiculous pretty quickly. You definitely don't need it any tighter than that, and for a lot of people, that might already be on the tight side. But it's still a pretty impressive performer, no doubt about it. And it really seems like with a good loading, a 28 gauge could legitimately make a decent field gun as well, which is not something that has ever been said until recently with all these absolute hammers for TSS shells. So no complaints from me today. That definitely gave us a fantastic performance pattern, and we got some more testing to do, and we're probably going to wind up just seeing how ridiculous we can actually make this pattern perform. But leave all your thoughts down below. Is that about what you expected to see? Were you a little surprised one way or the other? Have you tested any of these Epic 28 gauge shells, and if so, what kind of results have you seen? Is that a pattern or a combo you would hunt with, or is that a little too tight for you, or maybe exactly what you're looking for? And what other choke combos do you want to see us run these shells through, and how ridiculous do you think we can actually make this pattern? Let me know all that down below. But with that being said, I've got some more testing to get done for you guys, so I'm going to get back to it. As always, we have the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox where you can send stuff if you'd like. All that information will be in the description if you're interested in it, but I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.